go, let's go, let's go. I will learn new things. I will be creative. Grab your gears, let's gather round. An adventure is always waiting. There's storytelling news for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. Youth on the go. Whoa. Let's start the show. Youth on the go. Whoa. Let's start the show. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Good morning to all of our radio listeners, our viewers via Von Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and welcome to another edition of Youth on the Go here on Von Radio. I am Zahnela Claxton from the Department of Education, and this Saturday, as with every Saturday, we're here with you to share information, updates, activities, anything that we can to help to support our parents and facilitate whatever activities are happening within education and which affect our students and our young people. And so this Saturday, as we reflect, we're almost there at the month of June. We have a few important activities coming up, and then it's almost like magic. The school year will be over. Just in a few weeks. Just an early reminder for parents that the school year ends on July 1st for students. Most of our exam students will also be done with their exams on or by July 1st, and so that's our mark on your calendar date. And so after that, we will be talking a bit more about summer and summer activities. But ahead of that, we have so many things yet to come. And so I want you to know that we will try our best to continue to support our students. It has been an interesting past 2 years, and we hope that we can have an effective and fun remainder of the time for our students for the next couple of weeks. So first up, we have coming up this week the start of Child Month. We all know that June is recognized as Child Month throughout the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we have our Child Month activities under the theme Recycle, Save the Earth for Our Children's Future. Child Month 2022 theme. And you might want to start listening, because towards the end of the month we're going to have some interesting giveaways and activities. And so pay close attention, but the theme for Child Month is Recycle, Save the Earth for our children's future, and that's the theme for Child Month 2022. And our activities, our calendar, our opening of Child Month and launch of the pageant contestants. All right, so that's happening this week, this Wednesday, June 1st, the opening of Child Month, the launch of our pageant contestants. So hint, hint, it looks like we're having a pageant. Okay, and that's happening on June 1st, as well as the launch of Child Month by our Junior Minister, Honorable U. Troy Liburd. And then starting next week, we're going to have features for Child Month on Youth on the Go. So we know we always love to have those preschool, early childhood focused sessions, and those will take place every Saturday for the month of June, starting this Saturday. On June 5th, we have the church service, and each school will select a church, and they will go to that church and visit as a school. And so your school will alert your parents who have children in early childhood centers. The schools will alert you as to the date, the date is June 5th, as to the venue for your school's service. And then on June 10th, it's the Child Month Parade, and of course we usually have a parade through Charlestown and culminating at the ETW Park. On June 11th, we have Youth on the Go once again, because as I said, every Saturday for the month, so we'll feature our children on Youth on the Go. And then the same obtains for every Saturday, as I said. On June 15th, 2022, we have Dancing Stars. We know that all of our students, all of our children are stars, and so we have Dancing Stars at the the Nevis Performing Arts Center, and adults $10, children $5. Then on June 18th, we return for Youth on the Go. On the 21st, we have Children's Matinee, and that will take place at NEPAC from 5 p.m. Adults $10. It's a movie, and children $5, and that, of course, is being spearheaded by one of our early childhood centers, B&J's Preschool. So please reach out and get more information about that one and support very worthy cause. On June 22nd, we have Meet the Education Officials Day, where the preschoolers will get a chance to meet all of the officials in education. They don't usually get to see us. Well, they get to see us in the school setting, but sometimes they might not have, or it might not have resonated with them, and so they get a chance to meet with the education officials. So we're looking at education officers. We're looking at myself and Deputy PEO Londa Brown. We're looking at PS Barrett and, of course, Junior Minister Liebert. So the children will get to meet with us and interact with us for a bit. Then on June 24th, we have the Child Month Parade in St. Kitts. On June 25th, we return for Youth on the Go. And then on June 29th, we have the Prince and Princess Show at NEPAC, 5 p.m. We're going to have options for indoors and outdoors. So indoor option, $25 for adults and $10 for children. And we'll have some screens, because we know that NEPAC might be filled to capacity. We'll have some screens in the courtyard at $10 for adults and $5 for children. So you'll still get to enjoy the experience, be there, and if your team wins, you can probably take a picture with them after. But that's happening at NEPAC. Once again, the theme for Child Month 2022: recycle, save the earth for our children's future. So we look forward to interacting with you. Save the dates, especially those hot dates that you want to make sure that you're present for. Please make sure you save those dates so we can proceed after. Okay? If you need more information, feel free to reach out to us at the Department of Education, and we'll be happy to share with you and to enlighten you accordingly. The next few weeks, you realize then, will be very busy for early childhood, but not just for early childhood. The next few weeks will be busy for our primary school students as well, and we're going to take a short break before I transition into those updates, because when we come back, we'll talk a bit about the key stage assessment of learning that's happening for our primary school students, key stage assessments for learning, and what's happening with our primary schools for the next few weeks. So we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Sugar City St. Kitts, keep it sweet. Keep listening to Vaughn.
It's time, come on, rise and shine. You know, I know, we're gonna have a great time. An hour passes quickly, you don't wanna miss it. So turn up the radio, it's you on the go. You on the go. Oh, let's start the show. Oh, you on the go. Oh, let's start the show. Let's go. I will learn new things. I will be creative. Grab your gears, let's gather around. An adventure is always waiting. The storytelling news for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. Youth on the go. Oh, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go. Oh, let's start the show. Oh, let's go.
Let's go. Good morning to all of our radio listeners, our viewers via Vaughn Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and welcome to another edition of Youth on the Go here on Vaughn Radio. I am Zahnela Claxton from the Department of Education, and I'm here with you as we try to be every Saturday to share information, updates, activities, and of course our first big update that we just gave was the calendar for Child Month 2022, which commences on June 1st, this coming Wednesday. We also have, for our primary schools, we have an activity happening, and we had parent sensitizations 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, I think it was, and we were able to share with parents information on the key stage assessment of learning. The key stage assessment of learning is, of course, the assessment at our key stages. And before I go into the presentation, and I'll walk us through the content that was shared with parents, because I think the general public needs to know what's happening. The key stages for our system are kindergarten, grade 2, grade 4, grade 6, and those are the stages at which we have to report data to our regional bodies as well, our student performance data and things along that line. So those are the identified key stages. However, we have to this point only been able to assess students up for the upper key stages, which are the grades 4 and 6. Previously, that assessment was done through the test of standards. We are, however, and as you should be fully aware, we've had this conversation on this forum for a few times. We are currently piloting an enhanced curriculum, enhanced because it is the aim ultimately is to reach our students where they are, and so we have piloted to date, and it is only fair for us to then go ahead and start doing assessments to see what's happening with our 4 and 6 students in terms of those key stages. So that's just an update for you in terms of the context or the background for this discussion this morning. So our objective for the presentation, and of course to share with you this morning, is to share and discuss the Ministry of Education's approach to the National Key Stage Assessment of Learning. It's a census pilot. So it is not the assessment in full. It is a census pilot, parents. We're piloting. We're doing a dry run. We're collecting data. I want to make sure I say that from the onset. I have been approached by some parents this week who have said, this feels like a stressful process. In their minds, they want to prepare the children. They want to kind of push a lot of information on them to meet the assessment dates. We want to let you know from the beginning, and as I walk through, I hope it makes more sense to you, that is not the intention of this census pilot, nor the assessment. We want to know where our students are in relation to the curriculum, in relation to the rollout, and we are mindful that we've had 2 rough years, and so the information will also help us to know where the students are in terms of learning and any academic gaps. So to summarize all of that, we are not looking for perfection. We are not looking for fake information, because if we drill children just to be able to quote unquote perform on the test or the assessment, then we will not get to see exactly where they are, and we'll be working with very skewed data. Okay, so I know when we hear assessment and assessment of learning, we automatically go into a panic mode, and we want you to know that we need the best, most real data that we can get, so that we can support the children in the upcoming school year. Okay, so let me take you through the purpose of the assessment. 1, to determine the effectiveness of curriculum delivery in the advancement of student success. Once again, to determine the effectiveness of curriculum delivery in the advancement of student success. 2, to inform educational decision making and guide continuous school and system improvement. And 3, to serve as an accountability measure for the public. That means it gives us information to report to you, parents, and of course the public, as to where we are. We are accountable to you. We are functioning to serve you, and so we have to be able to be accountable to you. So let me take you through them again. the purpose, the stated purpose of the national assessment, the key stage assessment of learning, to determine the effectiveness of curriculum delivery in the advancement of student success, to inform educational decision making and guide continuous school and system improvement, and to serve as an accountability measure for our students. So is it a new test of standards? That's the big question. Is it a new test of standards? And the answer is no. You realize from the beginning I said we need to capture data, we need to be able to see where our students are. This is not a new test of standards. The test of standards was used as a summative school-based assessment for Term 3, for ranking student performance, to select award recipients at graduation, and for placement in academic streams at the secondary school. The key stage assessment of learning will be used by the ministry, school leaders, and teachers to help inform instruction, enhance teaching and learning through curriculum enhancement, and identify specific areas for continued professional development. So what will we do with the data that we get from this assessment? With the data that we get from this assessment, it will help us, it will help the teachers to know where our students' gaps and weaknesses are so that they can help with instruction. I will give an example. If through the assessment we realize that a particular child, let's go with the language arts assessment, a particular child is weak in arranging his or her thoughts, okay, then the teacher who works with the child next will be able to use that data to teach or to instruct. If we realize as a class the students are not very strong with spelling and grammar, then the next class teacher will work on some of those skills that we identify as weak areas. Okay, so that's how we will use it to inform instruction. To enhance the teaching and learning through curriculum enhancement, if we're realizing consistently, and as I said, this is a census pilot, but if we're realizing that there are gaps in certain areas when it comes to the curriculum, we have to address them, but we need the data. In the past, everybody has an opinion. Everybody always has an opinion, but our opinions are not often data driven. Some of them are based on gut feelings, some of them are based on what's happening at one particular school or in one particular class. We want to be able to see as a system where are our real gaps, so we can say to the parents, in all honesty, so we can say to our other leaders in education, these are our gaps, and then we can come up with a plan to fix the gaps, instead of over at this school A, there's this issue, and over at school B, maybe it's a school level issue, and we realize it's not an issue across the system, so we can work with this school. But in some instances we'll realize this is an issue across the entire system. That means that we have to train teachers to be able to address it, or we have to come up with a plan to mitigate it. All right, so that is the intended approach. And then, of course, as the same thing, identifying the areas for professional development. Once again, if we have to do wholesale training or one-on-one training for teachers. So that's the intended purpose. The subject areas which will be assessed through the census pilot this year are language arts and mathematics. As of 2023, that's going to extend because our students are actually sitting 5 compulsory subjects every within their school year, which are language arts, mathematics, science, social studies, and health and wellness. This year, though, we're looking at literacy and numeracy, so the only subjects which will be assessed will be language arts and mathematics, and the only grades which will be assessed will be grades 4 and 6, which are our key stage grades. Content covered, we will be looking at the ELOs and SEOs, and those are just the essential learning outcomes and specific curriculum outcomes covered in up to term 2 of the current academic year. Okay, so there are specific skills basically that should have been taught that the students will be assessed on. That is the intention for that, and accommodations will be made for students with special needs. For example, we might have to do some enlarged print if we have some students who don't see very well, and that is something that happens. Extra time for students who consistently throughout the year the teacher has realized that, or there's maybe a learning disability which causes the student to need some extra time to finish. The student would finish and do well, without the pressure. So you might have a 15 minutes extra or a half an hour extra or 15 minutes on every on the hour. So things like that. And then of course Braille. I don't think this year we have any students who may be sitting the assessment that would need Braille, but in the future, as we develop the assessment, there are some students coming through who would need that support because, of course, they're visually impaired. There's absolutely nothing wrong with their brain. They're visually impaired, and so they should be able to function and to sit the assessment. So accommodations will be made through the assessment as we develop it. And who is responsible for supporting the form? Principals will be responsible for submitting the form, which will be completed by parents. The date of submission, 1 month prior to the administration of CAL. However, this year, because it's a census pilot, we'll be able to collect the information from teachers during the course of next week, just in case there are any who stand out and really need that extra support. Teacher training is a key component of this process, and it started on 16th of February. Sample questions were provided in April 2022, and the administrative guide with scripts were shared with principals and teachers, and as well as the teachers' scripts in May 2022. Just to take you through some of the special arrangements, I mentioned some before, but there are some students, for example, who have cerebral palsy, neurological disorder, development disorder, learning disability, physical disability. They might need a reader or writer assistance, sign language assistance. I said Braille for persons who are visually impaired, enlarged print, questions, rest periods. Some students need breaks in between. They can't consistently do 1 hour, maybe because of attention deficits. Some children who have ADHD or ADD, they may have to take rest periods in order for them to ensure that they're focused, and of course extra time. Okay? What does the assessment design look like? This year we have a mathematics paper, assessment, and a language arts paper. The assessment, Mathematics is combined as a combination of the performance task and the written paper. So it's not just come in, sit down, do the exam one day. They have some performance tasks, some things that they'll be asked to do within the class period with guidelines, and they'll complete them, and that will form part of the grade. And then they will also have the assessment paper that will be a combination of multiple choice and computation. The language arts assessment will be a combination of a writing portfolio and a reading and comprehension component, which will comprise of short answer questions and multiple choice questions. We will have an answer sheet available, and students will have to place their ID number and then of course shade in those answers that they have, which the letters which correspond with the answers that they have selected. The multiple choice paper will be marked by a Scantron machine. Okay? We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll look closer at the language arts and mathematics assessment, and parents know at any point, or general public, if you have questions, you can feel free to call in and ask those questions as well. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
When VON vibrates, the whole Caribbean must shake.
860 AM, the powerhouse.
It's time, come on, rise and shine. You know, I know, we're gonna have a great time. An hour passes quickly, you don't wanna miss it. So turn up the radio, it's you on the go. You on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, you on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Whoa, let's go. I will learn new things. I will be creative. Grab your gears, let's gather around. An adventure is always waiting. The storytelling news for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. You on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, you on
all of our radio listeners, our viewers via Von Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and welcome to another edition of Youth on the Go here on Von Radio. I am Zahnela Claxton from the Department of Education, and we're here with you this Saturday to share some information and activities that are afoot within education, and of course will have an impact on our students and on our general system, and of course parents and guardians, on you as well, because you are the backbone while our students are at home. Our teachers hold the fort. They hold our students up and they guide them and carry them through during the school day, but we are dependent on parents and parental support and engagement and involvement, and so we want to share with you in terms of some of the updates. So at the beginning, we looked at the Child Month calendar. If you missed that, I will try to repeat it towards the end of the show so you can get those dates. And then we're looking at the Key Stage Assessment of Learning Census Pilot that is happening right now in our schools for our students in grades 4 and 6. So before the break, we gave a general overview, and we're now going to transition into what does the Key Assessment of Learning Census Pilot Assessment look like for language arts in 2022. So it has been designed with each student in mind. It's aligned with the enhanced curriculum, which has 3 strands: speaking and listening, reading and viewing, and writing and representing. And just to give you a quick overview of how these strands can impact our students over time, parents, and I want you to know that you cannot ever see the results in 3 months, 6 months, a year. Over time, we should see the results of this. So speaking and listening, we often complain about the fact that our students don't listen. And we also sometimes compare our children here to children overseas who seem to be prolific speakers. And so what we've done is embed within the curriculum opportunities for speaking and listening, preparing speeches, impromptu speeches, just responding, how to handle yourself, and things along that line. So that is part of it. However, this year we will not be assessing the speaking and listening strand for the Key Stage Assessment of Learning. That will happen in upcoming years. This year we will focus on the reading and viewing and writing and representing. The assessment is for learning, and we're going to inform you of the next steps. So we have the writing component, which is the writing portfolio, as well as an independent writing activity. I want parents to listen closely, because I know that there have been some concerns about students and how students practicing, and whether you help to what extent you should drill. So let me explain what the writing portfolio looks like. It's the assessment. It assesses the writing cycle or process. So in class, students would have gone through during the course of the year the writing process. The writing process, for example, parents, when we were students, we would have our pre-writing. Our teachers would say, brainstorm, write down your ideas, or draw it on a story map. We used to call it planning, plan out, right? So that's basically the first step, the pre-writing. Okay, so they go through the pre-writing, then they go into the drafting phase of the writing process, and that they quickly put their thoughts together. Then they're revising, they rework how they organize. So they might have put it not in the order it should be, and so they get a chance to rework. Then they edit. They go through and they check, do I have any spelling errors? Do I have grammar errors? Do I have capitalization errors? Do I have punctuation errors? Was there supposed to be a comma here or full stop? So you're making it deliberate. You're telling them, go back, focus, check your spelling. Go back, focus, check your punctuations. Go back, focus, and check your grammar. Should that have been is, or should it have been are? Do you need to talk to yourself a little bit, whisper to yourself to read it out loud, because some students need to hear that. So those are the things that we're trying to make deliberate. I know it is not new, parents. It doesn't sound like something new. The only thing is that we're highlighting each step so that children don't just skirt from, okay, here's your prompt, and they write the whole thing and then they give it to you. Okay, so we're trying to get them to think like writers, to go through and edit their work. And how will this help them in the future? Easy. I think as long as they're able to master those steps, and they will be able to do some self-editing, we should, over time, be able to build stronger writers. Not today, not tomorrow, but over time. So they'll go through the writing process. So what this portfolio is asking is for us to be able to see a sample of the entire writing process. So if they had one piece that they've done in class, that they went through the entire process, that they have, their story map, their concept map that shows how they brainstormed or how they put it together. Then they show us what they did, the drafting of it. Then we look at and to see how they went through to revise it. Then we look to see what they did to edit. So we should see some corrections, unless it was a perfect piece from the beginning. And then, of course, they will go through and reflect and assess what has been written, make sure they're good with it, and then that's their final piece they publish, right? So we just need to see them a sample of those steps. We have said to teachers, if you've already had those steps covered in their composition books, you can photocopy them and put them in a folder so that we can see that the students are practicing the writing process. This helps us to see, once again, how we can support students and how we can support teachers. The intention, parents, is not for homework or a bunch of writing to come just to kind of put you into a frenzy, which I'm getting that some persons are feeling a bit pressured. We're not supposed to have that. The intention is for them to just show that they know the writing process and that they are practicing the writing process. So that is the portfolio component 1. We then want the portfolio component 2 to be the independent writing piece. That happens this Tuesday, 31st May. So the students will be given a prompt. I want you to listen carefully because this is very different. The students will be given a prompt, just like we were given prompts when we were in class. For example, how to make lemonade, right? I know I had to make lemonade in grade 4, and I had to boil an egg somewhere along the line. We were so excited for the field trip to the school kitchen, so we could make boil an egg, fry an egg, things like that. So whatever they're asking them to do. And then the students will just go through. They will draft. But here, this is the fun part for me. Some parents were concerned, so what about if my child doesn't know what to write, or they're not familiar with the topic? Or guess what component is in there that I am impressed by? There's a class brainstorm component. That means after they get the topic, the class spends some time, led by the teacher, going through whatever the topic is, discussing it, and the children can write their notes, draw their pictures if they can't write fast enough. But it helps us to not have people staring at us, not knowing where to start. Because remember, we're assessing their writing. We're assessing, their spelling and their grammar and the punctuation and things like that. We're assessing the writing. And if you don't write anything, we can't assess anything. So there's a jump start component. You get to brainstorm as a class. By that point, if the child is going to draw the jug and the limes because they don't know how to spell lime and how to spell jug, because there's some students who are struggling, and of course that will help us to identify them as well, then that's what it is. But they get the chance to know they get a start. So they do that for 15 minutes if needed. And then the teacher would say, now take some time and do your own brainstorming. If there's anything you want to add outside of what we've discussed, this is your time. So you continue, the students, or if they just want to finish writing what we discussed, this is your time to kind of think through what you're going to write. They will have that concept map for them to brainstorm on. They will have everything that they need to be able to brainstorm. Okay? Then they move through and they will be able to write out whatever the prompt asks for them to do. Then they get a chance to, students, make sure now that you've written out that you take your time and you go back and edit. So instead of just giving me a finished piece because you just rushed through something which we know was the reality, we're now taking the time to say, make sure that you've edited. Go through. In class, for the year, the students should have been practicing how to edit. So they would know, okay, let me go and make sure my words are spelled correctly. I think in editing you should go through at least 3 times. Make sure my words are spelled correctly. Make sure my grammar is correct. Make sure that I have my punctuations, because of course your full stops are important. So if it's just everything running in one, that means I'm missing some punctuations. I need to look over it. And so that is how we're trying to train them to think about writing. And when they're done, they will have a chance to rewrite if they need to. Some won't need to, because they, by putting in the full stops and all of that, it wouldn't look messy. But if they see it looks really messy because I had a lot of words misspelled and it looks nasty and nobody's going to be able to follow, they have a chance to rewrite it. And they have an open window of time to do that. The teachers will guide them through. And parents, I hope I did a good job of explaining what is expected, because at no point did you hear me say, oh, they have to be perfect. No, I know every one of us, within us, we want it to look like our children are perfect all the time. But also know that if we get a false picture, we will not be able to effectively respond and help them. So I'm hoping that, I don't want us to fall into the trap of test of standards. When you hear the assessment is coming, you think, I need perfection, because my child is going to be measured against other children and it's going to look bad. And in some days it's okay for it to look bad if we have an intention of supporting in the future. Right? So I know, as I said, some parents are very anxious. We've never seen anything like this before. It's new, it's different, it will not be perfect. And so I'm saying that from the onset. But guess what? Mistakes are an important part of the learning process. And that is one of the statements in the enhanced curriculum. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. Right? So administratively, we will make mistakes. Your students would make mistakes. Teachers would make mistakes. It's important that we make mistakes, but it's more important that we learn from them, so we don't repeat them. Okay? So I hope that you are clear with the writing process and what is expected. As I said, I thought it was important for us to walk through that, because some parents are concerned. But the independent writing is happening this Tuesday at school during their regular language arts class time. It will happen. The teachers will administer those. Then they have 3 classroom sessions in June, which will speak to the reading component. The reading component, let me help you to understand. Reading comprehension. So they will get 3 reading comprehension passages, and that will help us to assess where they are in their reading skills. Okay? So we have the Selecting the Just Right books, the shared reading experience, we have different genres, and we have answering different types of questions. They were already given a sample assessment, so the teachers would have walked through some examples of passages, but it's to ensure that the students are comprehending, that they're reading well, and those who are not, we'll have an idea of how many and what level they are at. Okay, this will take place in 3 classroom sessions, because once again, it's not supposed to be a heavy exam pressurized environment. On the 7th of June, we'll have the fiction reading passage. Okay, on the 8th, we'll have visual information, poster, and poetry. And on the 9th, we'll have a non-fiction piece. And we'll have multiple levels of reading, so if we notice our students are struggling at their grade level, they might be able to go below, and if they're excelling, then we might need to accelerate them to a grade above. So that's the language arts assessment. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll speak to the mathematics assessment.
From Queen City, Nevis, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, Vaughn Radio.
It's time, come on, rise and shine. You know, I know, we're gonna have a great time. And now we're past this quickly, you don't wanna miss it. So turn up the radio, it's you on the go. Who's on the go? Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, who's on the go? Whoa, let's start the show. Whoa, let's go, let's go, let's go. I will learn new things. I will be creative. Grab Grab your gears, let's gather round, an adventure is always waiting. This storytelling means for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Whoa, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Let's go. Good morning to our radio listeners, our viewers via Vaughn Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and welcome to another edition of Youth on the Go here on Vaughn Radio. I am Zahnela Claxton from the Department of Education, and in case you missed it, we've been giving lots of updates this morning in relation to Child Month and also our Key Stage Assessment of Learning Census Pilot, which will start, which has started previously through the writing portfolio, but the first written paper will be this Tuesday through our independent writing piece. So I spoke to that a bit, and if you missed it, you can always go back to Vaughn Radio's Facebook page or YouTube channel and listen so that you'll be able to get caught up. The mathematics assessment, the design, there are two components, as I said before. There's a performance task, and the children will get questions involving the use of mathematics instruments and materials, and will try to reflect real-world math problems pitched at their grade level. The written paper is a traditional form of test taking, and it has some computations and some multiple choice. The performance tasks will run between May 23rd and June 3rd, and they're expected to be given during a double session of mathematics. The marking will be done by the class teachers, and samples will be moderated by a math team, and the performance task covers 30% of the score. And then all the topics, including numbers, are assessed for the written paper. There's no new content from term 3, and it's one paper that has 2 sections. The multiple choice is using a bubble sheet. All right. For grades 4 and 6, we'll see the free response taking the form of arithmetic, and for grade 6, we'll see also some equations. And it's scheduled. The written paper is scheduled to take place on Tuesday, 14th June, for during the school day. Okay, and marking will be done at centers. The benefits of the mathematics assessment: it assesses the curriculum to make improvements over time to the curriculum instead of waiting every 10 to 15 years. So we're trying to make sure that we keep abreast and keep making adjustments accordingly. Improve teachers' level of questioning and ability to identify gaps in learners' knowledge and their own knowledge. And of course, student success, information used to improve teaching and learning environment. What are the responsibilities of the teacher during this time? Ensure that students receive washroom break. We need children to be able to go to the restroom before the assessment, and during the assessment if needed. Students are permitted to go individually. Teachers should administer the assessment according to the directions given and read the script, and should follow the instructions. They should collect the bundle and submit the assessments to the principal. We have some frequently asked questions that I wanted to make sure that we got in before we close out, and so I'll go through some of those. Why are the language arts and mathematics assessments weighted differently? Remember that the language arts was 50% and 50-50, and math was 30-70. They are determined based on the emphasis placed on the specific aspects of the curriculum. Okay, so in language arts you'll see the writing component and the reading component both having the same weight because they're equally weighed in the curriculum. Mathematics, we'll see that the assessment paper has 70% because the emphasis is on the number strand in the curriculum. We've had professional development areas, opportunities for our teachers and our principals to get them abreast. Of course, these are preliminary. Over the next 2-3 years, they will become more extensive, but just to give them an intro, as I said, is a census pilot. What if a student is absent on the day of the assessment? If the absence is a day or two, arrangements should be made for the student to participate upon his or her return. These arrangements will be made on a case-by-case basis. How should students prepare for the assessment? Listen up, parents! How should students prepare for the assessment? They should, 1, eat properly. Please try to give them balanced meals. Make sure that they eat. I know some children give problems eating, but that not eating has an effect on their bodies and their ability to focus. Get plenty of exercise and rest. So we're seeing eat properly. We're seeing get plenty of exercise and rest. All right. We'll keep going with that. So there's no need for 1,000,000 additional classes, parents, or extra academic preparation. The assessment is designed to test the system, to test to see where we are. We're not testing the students to see how they rank. Okay? The results will be used to make the system better so that students have even better opportunities to reach their full potential. Should parents make special arrangements to prepare their children academically for the assessment? No. No preparation or extra classes are needed. Please don't make a big deal about the assessments. The assessments are designed to look like typical language arts and mathematics activities. The difference will be the scripted directions, which are designed to ensure that all students have an equitable assessment experience. Will all materials be provided for CAL? The CDU Curriculum Development Unit will arrange for printing of all assessments and will also include arrangements for delivery to schools. This will include materials used for the performance-based tasks, as well as materials such as pencils and erasers that are necessary for the completion of the written assessment. So we're not trying to stress you out. You realize that, right? We're not trying to stress anybody out. I know it's new, and so with new things comes stress. There's always anxiety and stress when there's something new, but we're not trying to add to that those natural stressors. Just to take you through the general timeline once again, May 23rd to June 3rd, mathematics performance tasks. Ongoing, we have until June 3rd, language arts portfolios. May 31st, language arts independent writing. June 7th through 9th, language arts written paper. June 14th, mathematics written paper. Student scores on CAL will not form part of their term grades or their overall grades. Remember, once again, we're not testing the students, we're testing the system. That's how we collect data. So it will not impact their average, it will not impact their grades. We're just trying to collect some data. Okay? Beyond 2023 and beyond, what would it look like? In 2023, grades 4 and 6 will have assessments in all subjects. So this year we're just doing mathematics and language arts. Next year we're looking at all subjects. Mathematics and language arts will retain elements from 2022 and build in the other components for term 3. The language arts will also include the listening and speaking components, which I spoke to earlier. An integrated school-based project will likely be introduced for science, social studies, and health and wellness, and professional development on the integrated project will begin this academic year. 2024 and beyond necessitates wider consultation over the coming months, and the steering committee will lead on it, introducing other key stages. Remember, I told you that there are 4 key stages. Right now we only have 2 being assessed. Over time we'll assess K, 2, 4, 6. And assessments, once again, don't mean exams. So people often ask, how do you assess kindergarten? There are many fun interactive ways to assess a kindergarten class to see what they know, or a kindergarten student to see what they know. We assess kindergartners every year in our system, so it will not be anything new except that it will be standardized, and the same for grade 2. Okay, and then the periodicity of the assessments, should we do them every year, every subject every year, or should we stagger? So those are some of the things that will be discussed for 2024 and beyond. Okay, so I'm hoping that we are a bit clearer, parents, that the intention is not to test, rank, rate your student or your school. The intention is for us to see where we are and what we can do to improve. And there are many ways in which we can improve, but we won't be able to support our assumptions without data. And we will collect data in other ways. For example, teacher interviews with schools, things like that, to corroborate what we're seeing with the assessments. But we're trying to get the holistic approach. We have had some of those initial conversations with teachers to see, how the curriculum is going, and we've captured some of that information. We don't have any student data to date, and so coming out of this we'll have some student data, as well as ensuring that we speak to the principals to see how it's going. Please, parents, while we're going through this transition, we're trying to provide as much support as possible to our schools, but understand you will never get perfection. And I think as a society we expect perfection from the jump, but you can't get perfection from the jump. But what we will not do is to make life difficult for our students. We want to make sure that we protect their learning while we go through this transition. I know that within the next 5 years you will be proud of the product. Some people can't make it very well through the process, but the process is an important part of it, and so we're asking you for your support during this process. And know that when you've had a system that has functioned in a particular way for 60, 70, 80 years, the change timeline will be extended and extensive, and so we hope that you can see the vision of where we want to go and help us to be able to get there. And if you need more information, please feel free to reach out, and we will try our best to respond to you. This information will also be shared during next week with the schools. It was presented already to parents across the Federation, but the PowerPoint will also be shared with the schools as well. If you heard this segment of Youth on the Go and you think that the information is important to somebody you know, please feel free to reach out and let them know that they can go back and review today's show on Vaughan Radio's Facebook page or YouTube channel. And so before I wrap up, I have a few minutes, and it will be remiss of me, and I love my early childhood team, my preschool teachers and employees, and the early childhood team at the office, and they will not be happy if I do not repeat the activities, because come June 1st, this Wednesday, we have the opening of Child Month 2022 and the launch of our pageant contestants. And then on Youth on the Go every Saturday for the month of June will focus on our preschoolers and our babies. And then we'll have our church service on June 5th. Each center will go to a designated space. The supervisor leader will let you know where you're expected to go. Our Child Month Parade on Nevis will take place on June 10th, and then Dancing Stars will take place at NEPAC on June 15th. On June 21st, we have a children's matinee movie, and that will take place at NEPAC. Adults $10, children $5. And then Meet the Education Officials will take place on June 22nd, Child Month Parade in St. Kitts on June 24th, and then we have on June 29th the Prince and Princess Show to bring down the curtains for the Child Month 2022. Indoor tickets will cost $25, outdoor tickets for adults will cost $10, and indoor for children $10, and outdoor for children $5. Please support us under the theme Recycle, Save the Earth for Our Children's Future, Child Month 2022. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to joining you next week, where we can share more with you and of course hear from our preschoolers.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio. From the